Happy Friday, readers. This is Brown Muslim Joy from Earth 14, known as Wajahat Ali, filling in for the mighty, the only Joy Reid, who will be back finally from her workcation on Monday. Fret not. Thank you all for being with us as I fill these big heels that, of course, are impossible to fill, but we tried our best. Folks, today we have another banger of a show. On Monday, we made the case that we live in the United States of surveillance and how to fight back. On Wednesday, the Muslims came and took over, and they tried to fight for Medicare for all and to abolish ICE and to stop sending, billions of our dollars to overseas wars and a genocide and invest in, Americans. Crazy thought. So scary. Today we have another big scary topic, the viral collapse of America. And we're going to make the case that this collapse of America is engineered by the Epstein class, also known as the Broligarchy, also known as the Trump administration, also known as the 1%, also known as the Nerd Reich. But before we do that, I want to welcome you all the readers who are watching on the YouTube. Please like, please press the notify button, please subscribe. If you're watching on the Substack, please become a paid subscriber. If you're listening on the podcast, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get this fantastic podcast, please subscribe. And if you're twitching on Twitch, keep twitching away. Let me tell you the guests we have real quick. Drums, please. Wanji. There you go. I don't blame Wanji. I've worked this poor woman to death. To discuss the viral collapse of our public health infrastructure system, we got Dr. Kavita Patel. We got Dr. MarkAlain Dery, an infectious diseases expert. And we have my better half, family med doctor, Dr. Sarah Qureshi, to talk about the Nerd Reich, this Epstein class that is raping our children, our resources, our data. We have Gil Duran, author of the fantastic new book, Nerd Reich, which is already a bestseller. To talk about how we fight back, we got state representative and inshallah the next senator from Florida, Angie Nixon. How the heck did this woman pull off a 16-1, being outspent 16-1 victory and win by double digits? Well, maybe it's because she's actually a fighter with a progressive fighting agenda. And then finally, we have Dr. Robert Pape talking about how the failed Iran war is causing an escalation crisis, which is causing food shortages, which is causing, of course, gas prices to go up, and why, oh, why this might lead to a rise in political violence. But first, a word from our sponsors.
Joy Reid Show is brought to you by Hexclad.
If you want the performance of stainless steel, the versatility of cast iron, and the convenience of non-stick, then you want Hexclad.
And you know that you need to get rid of those old scratched up pots that you borrowed from your auntie or your grandma. You know it's time to let those go and upgrade your kitchen and your lifestyle. You know, people can see you cooking sometimes. So you want to make sure you have the best. And as you just saw, Gordon Ramsay, he knows good pots and pans, and he loves Hexclad. They're actually his favorite brand. So if it's time for you to upgrade your kitchen to Gordon Ramsay's quality, Hexclad is the way to go. They are fabulous. They're incredible. They have the performance of stainless steel, plus the convenience of nonstick. And they're actually beautifully designed, so they actually make your kitchen look good. They have incredible heat control. They have a proper sear potential and also easy cleanup every time. We use these Hexclad pots and pans. I basically fry my eggs on them every morning. They come right up, scoops right up. You don't have to worry about cleaning. You can just literally put them in the dishwasher, which you cannot do with all pots and pans. They are scratch resistant, meaning they won't scratch up. You can even use metal implements on them. Fantastic. And you can use them to very high heat. I'm a high heat girl, unfortunately, not always a good thing, but great for Hexclad pots and pans. They are terrific. Stainless steel really performs great, but sometimes cleaning it up can really be a problem. But Hexclad gives you the performance that you love with stainless steel, but the convenience of true nonstick and easy clean. With over 1 million customers and more than 50,000 5-star reviews, you know that Hexclad is the real deal. All Hexclad products come with a lifetime warranty. It is literally the last set of pots and pans you will ever need to buy. And Hexclad's 12-piece set is the ultimate all-in-one cookware upgrade with 3 versatile pans, 2 saucepans, and a family-sized stock pot, each with its own lid. You will have every tool that you need to cook for a crowd or just for your family, or listen, even just for yourself. Hexclad pans are metal utensil safe again, so don't worry about using those metal implements on them. And the easy release surface means that you do not need as much oil or butter to get a great result when cooking. If you want to try them for yourself, make the most of these last weeks of summer with cookware that is built to keep up. Now, from August 20th, right now, through September 8th, you can get up to 52% off Hexclad and upgrade your kitchen for the new season. So just head to hexclad.com/joy. That's HEXCLAD.com/joy to get 52% off Hexclad and upgrade your kitchen. Support our show and let them know that the Joy Reid Show sent you.
Remember the good old days when we could fry eggs on Hexclad and not worry about dying? I remember those days, the 80s, the 90s, hell, even 5 years ago. But you have a feeling, that itching feeling that things are just getting worse. Everything's getting shittier. There's an enshittification of America. The water, just a bit more murky. The air, just a bit more smoggy. Prices, a bit higher. You're paying more, but getting crappy service. The movies we watch are just AI slop. You work harder, but you're making less. Your grandma was supposed to retire, but now she's doing DoorDash. Everything seems to be rigged against you. We used to fly, and now you have to pay for your own meals. You don't even get a blanket anymore. Flights are delayed. Everything's a bit hotter. Everything is a bit crappier. We're witnessing the collapse of America, a viral collapse. And I'm going to make the argument that this is a deliberate collapse created by, orchestrated by the Epstein class. As everyone is getting poorer, they're getting richer. They're getting richer off the collapse, and then they're going to be richer after the fallout from the collapse. Now, you might say, Waj, you're crazy. You're a scary brown Muslim man. I don't believe you. Well, let me just give you some facts. This week, we found out the United States hit its record high $40 trillion debt. $40 trillion. This is Fox News. The U.S. national debt just cost a staggering new threshold, 40 trillion. More than nearly 12 trillion of that debt has been added during, this is Fox News, Donald Trump's first term and the opening stretch of his second term, accounting for roughly 25% of the current total. I thought this guy was going to help the economy. I thought he would reduce inflation. Guess what, folks? Inflation was up. Guess what? He was said, I'm going to bring back jobs. Jobs are down. He was going to bring down grocery prices. Grocery prices up. He was going to bring down gas prices. Gas prices up. But don't you worry, at least we have the U.S. dollar. Don't we, Wanji? We got, oh, look, the U.S. dollar is also collapsing. You don't see the type of moves we saw yesterday. The dollar created and fell below its pre-war low, signaling more weakness ahead. You know, interesting, the dollar is collapsing, and we had J.D. Vance, the vice president, just last week kind of welcoming the collapse of the dollar, saying, you know what, we should move away from the dollar as the global reserve currency. Why would J.D. Vance, who's a disciple of billionaire Peter Thiel, kind of welcome the weakening of the U.S. dollar? Maybe he wants to replace it with another type of currency, maybe crypto. Oh yes, crypto, which has helped make Donald Trump and his friends billions of dollars. But I don't got crypto. You let me know in the chats if you've made billions of dollars off of crypto. So the crypto bros are making money. JD Vance is making money. Howard Lutnick's making money. Tweedledee and Tweedledum, the dumbass sons of Donald Trump, are making money. US dollars collapsing, $40 trillion debt. We're losing manufacturing jobs. But you know what? This is still America. You work hard and damn it, you'll achieve the American dream. Remember the 50s? Dad used to go out, work. There used to be one job. Mom could actually raise the kids and you could buy a nice home, right? And right now, folks, whether you know it or not, American workers are working harder than ever. We're more productive than ever. We work harder and longer than our Japanese and European American counterparts. We leave more vacation days on the table. So you would assume we'd be benefiting from all this extra work, except wages remain flat. And all that money goes straight to the top, to the 1% and the Epstein class. Wanji, show me. A3, income inequality. This is the income that includes revenue streams from wages, salaries, interest on savings accounts, dividends from the shares of stock, rent, and profits from selling something to more than you paid for it. Check that out. Where is that? That red line that's going all the way to the top? Check out that red line. You know what that red line is? That's not you or me. That is the top 0.01% household income group. That's gone up. What about that orange line? That is the top 0.1%. And everybody, not just the poor, is getting poorer. But you know what? Don't you worry. Your president cares about you. He cares about high gas prices. He cares about high grocery prices. He cares that you're working longer and harder than ever and all your money's going to the top. I mean, just listen to him. Wanji.
When you're negotiating with Iran, Mr. President, to what extent are Americans' financial situations motivating you to make a deal?
Not even a little bit. The only thing that matters when I'm talking about Iran, they can't have a nuclear weapon. I don't think about Americans' financial situation. I don't think about anybody. I think about one thing. We cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. That's all. That's the only thing that motivates.
I don't think about Americans' financial situation. Affordability, made up word. What about the bipartisan affordability housing bill? Big yawn. These are exact quotes. You heard them. Well, speaking about home buyers, show me the still. Oh, look at this. The number of U.S. home buyers falls to the lowest level on record this week, with sellers outnumbering buyers by more than 50%. The average age to buy a home in the 90s when I grew up, folks, was 27. You all know what the average age to buy a house, if you can buy a house now, is? 41. But don't worry, young people, they're the future, they're the hope, they're gonna work, they're gonna find something new. But first they have to survive. Give me this still, A6. More Americans aged 25 to 44 are dying younger, thanks to gun violence, thanks to alcoholism, thanks to drugs, thanks to suicide. The number one cause of death of children and teens in America for the past 2 years running is gun violence. But don't you worry, folks. Everybody's dying in America, not just the young folks. I mean, Russian roulette, you don't need a gun anymore. You just have to have a piece of lettuce. It's you and your friend playing Russian roulette with a leaf of lettuce. You just take turns eating it, and whoever starts pissing from their ass, they are the first ones to lose. Show me the list of all the shit that we can eat now without being afraid of dying. Check that list out, folks. Wanji, poor Wanji, she tried her best. Outshine fruit bars. You know what the ingredients were? Fruit, water, and ice. Now, glass is in it. You can't eat jalapenos. You can't friggin' eat salad dressing, granola, tomato soup, spice mix, frozen blueberries, eggs, puree patches, iceberg lettuce, cat and dog food, ricotta cheese. I'm going to do them all. Infant formula, dried herring, fish, chocolate, croutons, ice cream, mushrooms, pita chips, cheese curds, coleslaw, potato chips, raw milk, cheese, peeled garlic, black bean, chocolate syrup, cottage cheese, cream cheese, baby food, salmon, snack bars, baked brownie bites, chia seeds, yellow fin tuna, and tamales. But don't you worry. You can no longer eat alfalfa as of last night. Give me A10. Oh, look, Minnesota health officials are warning against eating certain alfalfa sprouts linked to a rare outbreak. Awesome. But at least you can have eye drops, right? I can have eye drops, Wanji, right? Can I at least have eye drops? Oh shit, can't have eye drops. Nearly 40,000 bottles of eye drops have been recalled over possible contamination with materials, but it's okay. We all get an upset stomach. It won't be like explosive diarrhea, right? From eating, I don't know, some food with this parasite in it, right? Give me A8. Oh, never mind. Cyclosporiasis, the parasite causing the current explosive diarrhea outbreak, is at a level 20 times higher than its yearly average. This comes just 1 year after the Trump administration removed Cyclospora tracking mandate from the Foodborne Disease Active Surveillance Network and literally gutted the CDC experts who were hired to prevent the spread of this bacteria that has now gone to 4 states. And on the record, what we know about on the record, I'm sure that number, sadly more, has killed at least 7 people. But you know what? We can't cook our food. But guess what? At least the earth is cooking. Give me A11. Human-caused climate change was the main driver of record-breaking sea temperatures around Europe, scientists said, warning of severe consequences for marine ecosystems and coastal communities. And we just welcomed the hottest July on record. But at least voters care about the fact that our home is burning us to death. Right, Wanji?
Schwitzing a lot in the month of July, although granted, I schwitz a lot all the time. But the bottom line when it comes to voters is, simply put, They don't care. They don't care. I mean, just look at these numbers. Okay, top issue, a midterm vote. You can list up the 3 issues. The economy, not surprisingly, comes in at number 1 at 54%. Immigration, 28%. Look where climate change is. It's tied for 14th. Tied for 14th, all the way down here at 3%. Johnny, I'm not the greatest mathematician in the world, but I sure as heck know that 54% is a whole heck of a lot higher than 3%. So despite the climate being so warm in the month of July, the hottest month on record here in the United States of America, the voters simply put do not say that climate change is going to be an issue in which they vote upon in the midterm election.
And how much people are concerned has been changing over time.
Yeah, I mean, this is, I think, the other thing, which is, you know, how much concern is there when it comes over time? And you see this 3% here, and you can see these slides right here. Say climate change is a very big problem. In 2016, it was 40%. It was 40%. Look where we are in 2026. It's 39%. It's 39%. Now, Johnny B., you know, you're talking about change. Where the change we have seen is partisanship, right? And what we can see is Republicans, more so than anybody else, have been shifting away from the idea that climate change is a top issue for them. Take a look at this. The least important issue for Republicans, it's just at 14% in terms of saying that climate change is a very big problem. So we're seeing a large partisan split, but when it comes together, Democrats are going in one direction, Republicans are going in another direction. But when you put those two together, the bottom line is we're only talking about 2 in 5 Americans, both now and 10 years ago, saying that climate change is a very big problem.
This is an all New York accent hit, I'm noticing this time. You're leaning into.
Don't look up. Just don't look up. Folks, we're all in this together. This is our home. This is the food that we eat. We thought, Donald Trump, let's reelect him. He'll only go after the transgenders and the Muslims and the pro-Palestinian activists and the black folks and the woke, right, and the El Salvadorans. Now you see what happens when you have pro-death freaks, eugenicists, white supremacists in charge of, I don't know, the government, or in charge of DHS, or in charge of Health and Human Services. Can't eat popsicles, can't have eye drops, can't go outside without being afraid that the sun is going to melt you, right? We're witnessing the deliberate, intentional, viral collapse of America. And I want you, by the end of this episode, to have a righteous rage, and I want you to care. And I want you to also have hope, because there's a way to fight back. We have the numbers. We have the numbers, and inshallah, we will have the informed response and education. First and foremost, I want to talk about healthcare. The deliberate assault and sabotaging of our public healthcare infrastructure system by RFK and these freaks. In order to talk about it, drums, please. Please welcome Dr. Kavita Patel, Dr. Sarah Qureshi, and Dr. MarkAlain Dery. Folks, we have look at these nerds. Look at these nerds. Hello, nerds. Welcome, welcome, welcome. First and foremost, MarkAlain, are we waiting for him? But show me B1 real quick, if you can, Wanji. Bueller. There you go. Sabotage. Experts, lawmakers blast RFK Jr. for destroying healthcare research. The federal agency tasked with studying ways to improve America's outstandingly poor healthcare system is on the brink, experts warn. The Trump administration has cut its staff by 75%, canceled its grants en masse, and is refusing to spend tens of millions of dollars appropriated by Congress. In addition, we know that the workforce of the FDA has been cut by 25 to 30%. We also know the CDC has been cut by 25 to 30%. Kavita, give us the lay of the land. How has the public healthcare infrastructure been deliberately dismantled just in the past year and a half?
Watch, I can't tell you how happy I am. And you have the most esteemed co-panelist with me who I'm excited to hear from, but I will kind of nerd out on policy. This is not just a systematic dismantling of science. They're doing it so that even if, I'm very hopeful the administration changes, Congress changes, that they're now in such a deep, not just deficit of dollars, but a deficit of dollars, talent, and candidly, like regulations, because what's in between all those cuts that you're talking about are death by 1,000 executive orders and literally deleting and changing words in regulation, many of which I think are still like against statute and violate like what Congress has rights over, but basically using their will to kind of delete any priorities that have nothing to do even with DEI, but come and use this like blanket excuse of, well, this is promoting transgender care, this is promoting DEI, and basically stuffing that in so that they delete entire programs. Everybody's like looking at all these foodborne illnesses. Why is this suddenly happening? It's happened every year and been climbing, but this year was like a record-breaking year in foodborne illnesses. I don't even want to talk about measles and kind of the implications,
Oh, we're
not
going to
just
talk about measles.
not just for that, the research. And then I have to say it because it doesn't get enough attention, not just $1 trillion in Medicaid cuts, trillion with a T, but all the ripple effects from states being told they can't do other elements of children's care, maternal health. So needless to say, I can go on and on. And candidly, this is a time for I don't care what party you are, what religion you are, what you look like, what you act like. If you actually care about people, children, yourselves, your own future for healthcare, what kind of care the three of us are going to get as we get older, this should matter. This conversation should matter.
Let me ask a follow-up, because when we talked, I think 6 months ago, Dr. Kavita Patel, you said something to me which was so sobering. You said two things to me. You said, number one, I'm telling people not to come to America. The second thing you said is, I hate to say this, Waj, but it's like when you're on an airplane and they tell you, take care of yourself first and then your child, then worry about everyone else. Talk to us about that threat, that warning that you gave me 6 months ago. And then you said that first line of defense is going to be your family med doctor because of the avalanche of lies and bullshit that we will face from this anti-science, pro-death movement, which is the Trump administration.
Yeah, so the first line of defense, I'll start there just because pediatricians, I'm an internist in primary care, family physicians, we're basically like your only outlet for trying to figure out how to decipher what you're seeing on headlines. And people, unfortunately, whether I like it or not, are not getting all their news from you. They're getting their news from sources that have zero like scientists or credibility or basis. So that leads to that, like, take care of yourself, pull the oxygen mask on yourself, and then try to take care of others. Because if you can't actually understand how to survive in this system, by the way, it's not just surviving in this system of perverse incentives, insurance, misinformation, and people actually trying to like harm us, but it's also people taking away our individual reproductive rights, our ability to make decisions, our ability to even think about how we want to live or die. That's what I'm talking about, like protect yourself. So you need to come armed with information, facts, and have that conversation. I've never had so many conversations with, and watch, here's what's scary. These are not, I would love to paint this.
Everything you said is scary. What do you mean? This is what's scary.
Well, I would love to tell you that it's like some of these are not my friends having these conversations with me, but watch it, they are. I mean, there's been so much like fear mongering. I've had very close friends who have had miscarriages, who have had children with special needs, who have had a number of just things that happen because it's 2026 and we're doing a better job at diagnosing things, but we also just have a lot of chronic disease. And people have said to me, do you think it could have been the COVID vaccine that caused it?
Ugh.
And I've stopped and I've said, I don't know how to explain that when billions of doses of a vaccine are given around the world, you're absolutely going to have a population that has certain illnesses that pop up. It doesn't mean it's causation. The correlation is not the cause. And so again, just thank you for giving a platform for it. I want everyone to feel both angry about it, but just what I had told you 6 months ago, I'll say it again. Learn how to use this to take care of yourself and the people you love and those around the people you love.
Dr. Sarah Qureshi, I've heard you have a very kind, wise husband, and this is my wife, Sarah, who's a family med doctor, public health expert. I married up. She's one of those do-gooders like Kavita. She likes helping refugees. It's just so annoying. It's obnoxious. It really pisses me off because I thought I'd marry a doctor and I could like retire, but then I found out the two poorest doctors are pediatricians and freaking family med. So here we have Kavita and Dr. Sarah. But Dr. Sarah, you are the first line of defense. People come to you, and you've been telling me he's dismantling, by he I mean RFK is dismantling our public health infrastructure system. Families come to you. You're all about community health. Talk to us about what you've seen in the past year and a half, and you have to unmute yourself.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me on, Waj. And I'm excited to be on this with amazing co-panelists also. So as a family physician, I mean, it's all terrifying, as you said. He's the government policies, we're weakening the infrastructure that keeps people from getting sick in the first place. And primary care and public health are all about prevention. So we're about vaccinating children before they're exposed to measles, detecting cancer before anybody has symptoms, controlling blood pressure before somebody has a stroke. So when you undermine these things, the vaccines, the public health surveillance, the research that tells us how to deliver the best care we can, there's going to be consequences. And like with the foodborne illnesses, with vaccines, sometimes you see it immediately, but I just want to emphasize that a lot of these things we're not going to see for months or years later, when people will get sick from something we knew how to prevent. And I just want to highlight that the equity part of this, the consequences aren't equal. The families who have money and flexibility can find another doctor. They can travel for care. They can take time off work. They can navigate this complicated system and the red tape around the policies. But the populations who already have so many barriers are the ones who are going to fall through the cracks and feel like the biggest effects of this infrastructure. So it's been terrifying for us and those of us who are especially caring for those who have Medicaid and Medicare.
Let me do a follow-up, Sarah, because this administration hates the woke. This administration hates diversity. This administration, let's be honest, doesn't really care much about women, Black people, brown people. And you at Georgetown Medical School, who you teach also in addition to being a family med doctor, you tried along with your colleagues to actually implement this type of awareness about healthcare racial inequity for the past couple of years. That was missing from Georgetown Med School. Talk to us about how this will actually, yes, it'll impact everyone, but specifically, it's going to go after Black folks, women, and poor folks.
Yeah, absolutely. And those immigrants and refugee populations also. I mean, navigating our healthcare system is already so challenging, right? There's so many barriers. And on top of everything now, I think what I wanted to mention, what kind of worries, one thing that's getting missed with these policies is on paper, it might not sound that dramatic. Like they're not completely eliminating vaccines, like the MMR vaccine, right? It's still available, or there might be a benefit, but you add on another form, another approval, another appointment, another eligibility requirement. And now you've created so much friction that people just can't access it. And that's why the hurdles disproportionately affect those who can't take a day off work, who don't have, so many of my patients don't have reliable transportation. They don't have reliable childcare. They have limited English proficiency. And like I said, they're already navigating the system. So in primary care, we see this all the time, right? A drug might be covered, but I have to do a prior authorization. It takes multiple phone calls. The pharmacy, it has to be through a special pharmacy. So it might be on paper, the access is there, but it's not the same thing as in real life. And it is what the administration is doing right now, is putting so much red tape and barriers around everything around healthcare that is going to be such a huge devastation to so many of our communities, like you said, are vulnerable ones.
And as Dr. Kavita said, I'm glad you brought it up. I'm going to get Dr. MarkAlain here, who's an infectious diseases expert. We still have, this is how bad it's gone right now, folks. After the midterms, I want you all to remember this, is that the Trump administration, thanks to Republicans, is going to give billionaires a permanent tax cut. How are they going to pay for the tax cut? $1 trillion cuts from Medicaid. So people are going to be bumped off of Medicaid. It's going to impact rural hospitals. It's going to impact senior citizen homes. People are going to die, but people are already dying. Dr. MarkAlain, give me B2 real quick, Wanji. Oh, look, the CDC's new director acknowledged an exhausted workforce, staffing shortages, and stalled programs. In her first agency-wide meeting, the agency has lost more than 3,000 workers through layoffs and resignations. What could go wrong? Give me B4. Oh, look, measles cases hit 2,500 this year, the highest in 35 years, and Indiana is one of the states reporting cases. CDC's response was a 3-sentence release that never told patients to vaccinate. Trump's executive order wants exemptions easier, not harder. And give me B3. Surely we're getting vaccinated, right? Surely. Oh no, child vaccination rates have plunged since before the pandemic, with kindergarten classrooms in more than 70% of counties now lacking herd immunity against measles. Dr. MarkAlain, you have spent your entire life trying to prevent infectious diseases. You've traveled around the world. You see stuff like this. How much of a horror show is this?
I mean, this is terrible. Right now, we're at a point right now that I think last year I may have predicted, but I could have never thought about it. I think I just had some sort of normalcy bias happening in the background. But what we are seeing right now with the dysregulation of our food surveillance network, for example, and we're starting to see this terrible cycle sport. We're seeing way more cases than we had actually originally known. We had talked about that previously, Waj. But what we are seeing with vaccinations right now is just all part of that bigger plan that you were talking about at the beginning of this segment. It's just all part of a viral collapse. It's what I refer to as soft eugenics. And what Dr. Sarah was talking about and what Dr. Kavita were talking about was a large point of this is this friction points that occur as you move through the healthcare system. So I call it soft eugenics because it's not necessarily hard eugenics. Hard eugenics was like forced sterilization, was determining who was fit and who was unfit. It's just easier to talk about eugenics by not mentioning it, but by doing things like making vaccinations much more difficult, making it such that people who who take personal responsibility, like what Dr. Sarah was talking about, people who have more personal responsibility than others. For example, people who have more personal responsibility have more money to go to the doctor, or they have jobs that they can take the time off, or their pediatrician is only 10 minutes away, as opposed to somebody who's living in a rural area that is 45 minutes away, who's, with gasoline being what it is, with inflation being what it is, another copay. And then, as we saw at the beginning of last week, this just horrific plan that we saw in the form of an executive order where they are reducing the vaccinations from 18 to 11 to better match a country that is not even part of the U.S. experience. It's a country
Denmark?
that has socialized medicine. Yeah, Denmark. I mean, they don't even have the same pressures and pressure points and pain points that we do. And so it's super important for us to recognize that with that decrease in recommended vaccines, influenza, COVID, and then they want to break the MMR apart
Measles,
into vaccines.
mumps, rubella.
Yeah, into vaccines that don't even exist at this point. They're not even FDA approved. And one of the things, Waj, last time that we spoke, after we clicked off, it occurred to me, I work in federal clinics, and that there could be a point where if you are getting money from the feds, they might start instituting these horrific, what I refer to as eugenic vaccine policies that mandate that you actually have to, if you take federal dollars, you're going to have to follow their vaccine schedule. And I think that if we follow this logic out, that's the worst case scenario.
This is a pro-death movement. I called it. My scariest MAGA horseman, I've always said, is RFK, precisely because of this. He's the director of Health and Human Services, a man who has promoted anti-vax conspiracies, a man who has no gag reflex, according to him, because he just picks up dead animals off the road and eats them, a person who has promoted eugenics type of comments about autistic people. And when it comes to sterilization and eugenics, Dr. Kavita, I want people to always remember the Nazis were so impressed with slavery in America and segregation that they invited the eugenics doctors to Nazi Germany and gave them awards. So we test this stuff out always on Black people, the indigenous, and the poor folks, right? And people come to you, Dr. Kavita, and I want to ask you this question. They'll say, I read that vaccines cause autism. Dr. Kavita, is that true?
No. And in fact, unfortunately, there was a study that was published and actually since rebuked, retracted, and even multiple kind of editorials, and now literally dozens of studies. At one point, last year, I'd kept a count of how many studies have actually kind of debunked any causation or linkage between autism and vaccines. And again, it goes back to this, we've had billions of doses of all types of vaccines, including the COVID vaccine, kind of delivered around the world. So we actually understand pretty strongly things like myocarditis. And I think this is when things work, we actually understand safety signals very well from what we've been doing, small numbers, big numbers of vaccines. And I think that's actually important to point out. This is not me saying there has never been a case of any harm ever associated with any vaccine since the dawn of mankind. But there has been zero proof behind this link between autism and vaccines. And I take this subject very seriously because anybody who has had anyone in their family affected by autism knows that there are many of us, probably the four of us included, that have spent our careers trying to understand how to help patients and families with autism. But by taking away the grants and pausing, I was looking at my phone watch because I actually confirmed with high-level NIH personnel that they were told to halt all of their grant notices today, just as you mentioned.
Wow.
But I want to
That's
put
the
like
National
a fine.
Institute of Health, folks.
This is not just like a small rinky-dink operation, but they were told to halt all contracts for grants going out the door today. And in those contracts and grants, there were also important research to actually explore not just autism, but a number of illnesses that we still need better research around. So imagine, who is this? I love kind of Dr. Mark's like verbiage, like I'm going to take that and give you credit. It's sad for me to say soft eugenics, but you're absolutely right. We're just literally, and so just to, because I know you've got an incredible platform and audience watch, I just want to tell people, like, where do you go? We talked about this before. It's healthychildren.org. That's the website put up by the American Academy of Pediatrics. They're my like North Star for when I'm trying to give information.
Healthychildren.org.
Healthychildren.org. They're the consumer kind of, I can go on there and understand everything there is to know about vaccines, ask questions, and then have the conversation with myself, Dr. Sarah, Dr. Mark. We embrace these conversations, but I'll warn you, trying to get an appointment with any of us, it's like doing this, like, you know, phone tree magic kind of matrix. So again, getting back.
I just pray. I pray, and then I ask Sarah, and Sarah's a doctor, and she doesn't even help me. So I'm like, freaking, if my doctor wife says this system's effed up, imagine the average Jose.
But that's it. And then imagine if you're one of my patients who then gets like a bill and you don't understand how to interpret it, and we say, like, call your insurance company. Like, every level of the American healthcare system is made to actually prevent like getting care. So do what you can to kind of ask questions, empower yourself. I want people here. This isn't just children that are being attacked. This is all ages, because even I've had adults that have said, oh, I heard I don't need the flu shot. I'm like, when did that happen? Because we still have preventable deaths and hospitalizations. And then one more point, I think you heard Dr. Mark talking about kind of immunity levels. You showed that tweet with the map of vaccine levels. If you think that this doesn't affect you because you've had all your vaccines, like I have, like my children have, like my family has, you are wrong. When we drop to these thresholds, this actually does have kind of the ability for a virus to overwhelm a community, including people who are vaccinated. So this is not fear mongering. This is just epidemiology, that we then have a threat of having healthy patients who have been vaccinated actually getting some of these symptoms from things like the measles. It will prevent death, but it's not necessarily going to prevent illness the way we had hoped, with like 92% of a population being vaccinated.
I'm going to ask Dr. Sarah a question, then I'm going to finish up with you, Dr. MarkAlain. Thank you all so much for joining. Look at these three brilliant doctors. This is what you get when you actually have like people who've done research and, like, you know, spent their life trying to help people. In addition to going against Black people and poor, this administration is attacking women. Can you give me B6, please? Because I don't want this to go out of the news cycle. This is a Supreme Court that overturned Roe v. Wade. And we just got this yesterday, Center for Reproductive Rights, an abortion rights win. A judge ruled that denying pregnant people an abortion in certain life-threatening situations violated the Constitution and said, quote, a pregnant woman's health is not a state resource to be allocated at the legislature's whim. Idaho must allow abortion to preserve women's health. Sarah, how important is it for people to understand that abortion rights are also healthcare rights? And this administration's curtailing of women's rights in Roe v. Wade is actually leading to women who want to be moms actually dying.
Yeah, this is a huge issue. Pregnancy is a medical condition, and abortion is one of the treatments that we as physicians may need to provide during pregnancy. There are pregnancies that threaten a patient's health. Pregnancies with devastating fetal diagnosis. There's miscarriages when medications procedure overlap with abortion care, and patients where, like, if they're to continue their pregnancy, there's a huge medical risk. So as a physician, what is so horrifying is that these laws are dictating a medical decision before I've even met my patient or seen the patient. Medicine is so nuanced, and two patients who could have the same diagnoses on paper may have like very different circumstances and risks. And again, these abortion restrictions affect everybody inequitably. A person who has money can take time off work, buy a plane ticket, go to a different state where they're able to do this arranged childcare and travel. A patient with a lower income may not be able to do any of these things. So these laws, one, they go against everything that we have taken a Hippocratic oath to take care of our patients for. And two, they're also resulting in these like unequal consequences.
So our seniors are at risk. Women are at risk. If you're immunosuppressed, you're at risk. If you're Black and brown, you're at risk. But this also threatens babies. This type of hate, this type of fear mongering, this type of soft eugenics. I'm just go ahead and call it hard eugenics. Dr. MarkAlain, a final question to you. I got Gil Duran waiting. I have heard so many smart people message me and say, Waj, if vaccines truly were safe, why would RFK say that? If Tylenol was safe for a pregnant woman, why would Donald Trump say that? You are an infectious diseases expert. You've spent your life trying to save lives, and now you are a proud father of a little baby boy. Everyone applaud. Everyone applaud. For those who say, I'm not going to give vaccines to my baby. Herd immunity. No, I don't want to risk it. Final word to you.
So, Waj, as you know, I had a baby late in life. I have a 2-month-old right now, and I will tell you the first picture I took of my baby after I was fortunate enough to deliver him was him getting his first vaccine, which is his hepatitis B vaccine. He got right at birth. He got his second hepatitis B vaccine right at 30 days. And just 2 days ago, he got 7 vaccines. And I was so happy I was able to give him the rotavirus one. Why am I vaccinating my child? One, because I trust the science, because I know the science is real. I am a scientist. I know those papers. I read those papers. I know how to interpret them. We are in a situation right now where we have so much disinformation and misinformation. But I have the real information. And part of what I want to do is use the birth of my child and how we are going through and vaccinating him to show other families that here's an infectious disease doctor. Here's somebody who knows the science, who trusts the science, and wants to make sure that my baby grows up to be a very healthy and happy individual. And one of the ways they do that is by being well vaccinated, because we know these infectious diseases are easily transmittable and can really, really harm people, especially if they are not vaccinated. So one of the greatest joys of my life, next to actually having my baby, is making sure that I can protect that baby. And the way I do that is by vaccinating my baby using the old AAP approved, the IDSA approved, that's American Academy of Pediatrics and Infectious Disease Society of America, that approved the old vaccine schedule. And that's the vaccine schedule that we're sticking to.
Folks, listen to these 3 brilliant doctors, Dr. MarkAlain Dery, Dr. Kavita Patel, Dr. Sarah Qureshi. Instead of RFK, please vaccinate your children. Please take advice from actual doctors. And we have to actually help each other out. You have to inform your family members, your community members, because we're witnessing right now the deliberate collapse of our public healthcare infrastructure system. Thank you all for coming. Dr. Sarah, go get the kids and then text me what you want to eat for dinner. Thank you all. Thank you, Dr. Kavita. Thank you, Dr. Sarah. Thank you, Dr. MarkAlain. Folks, we have Gil Duran. There are these architects who want the collapse of our healthcare, of regulations, of the dollar. This is not just, random. This is orchestrated by something called the Nerd Reich. And the person who's been warning about this for years, the person who's been researching it, the person who knows their ideology is from the Bay Area, journalist Gil Duran, who is the author of the newly best-selling book, Nerd Reich, Silicon Valley Fascism and the War on Democracy. And anyone who is in San Francisco on Monday, I'm going to be hosting Gil Duran to promote his book at the Commonwealth Club on Monday in San Francisco. Gil, welcome, sir.
Hey, Wash. Good to see you.
All right. You know my thesis. I believe that this collapse is not just freakish. I believe it is very deliberate. You, I believe, share that conclusion. But you have labeled these individuals, this cabal, the Nerd Reich. Table setting. What is the Nerd Reich? Who is the Nerd Reich?
The Nerd Reich is a cult of Silicon Valley billionaires who believe it is their destiny to topple democracy and nation states in the 21st century using their technology and their wealth. And here in 2026, we see them partnered up with the Trump MAGA regime. They're investing in Trump's fascism because that's sort of what these guys do. They're venture capitalists. They invest in disruptive technologies. And Donald Trump has been proven to be a technology for destroying democracy. And so that's who the Nerd Reich is. And I should say, too, that I get a lot of credit for coming up with that moniker, but I didn't. When I started writing about these guys in 2024, I had a story that went really viral, and I was under attack for 2 days by one of these gazillionaire guys who was very mad about my story. And someone reached out to me from the crypto world and said, we've been calling these guys the Nerd Reich for years. And I immediately recognized its value, got the URL, rebranded my newsletter as the Nerd Reich. And now it's a book, The Nerd Reich, Silicon Valley Fascism and the War on Democracy, which tells the deep story about this cult and what it wants.
A deliberate, intentional collapse of the post-World War II order by these psychopaths who profit off the collapse and on the back end. And I have a still for you. I want to show you. C1. This is my example of the Nerd Reich. Wanji, I'm making Wanji work hard. C1. Nerd Reich meeting with Epstein. The there you oh look, it's Mark Zuckerberg, it's Elon Musk, it's Peter Thiel, it's Reid Hoffman. What do they have in common? They attended a wild dinner with Jeffrey Epstein after his conviction. Wanji, boo these people. Boo these people. Boo. I also want to focus on one person in particular, because we oftentimes hear about Elon Musk, the world's richest man, who gave $300 million to get Trump elected, took over Doge, stole our data, deregulated stuff. We hear about Mark Zuckerberg, but Peter Thiel. A lot of normies don't know about Peter Thiel. And I want to bring this up. C2. Peter Thiel. I quote, "I no longer believe that freedom and democracy are compatible," Thiel wrote in 2009 manifesto published by the Libertarian Cato Institute. "Since 1920, the vast increase in welfare beneficiaries and the extension of the franchise to women, women being given the right to vote, have rendered the notion of capitalist democracy into an oxymoron. The driving ideal of PayPal," because he's one of the co-founders of PayPal, along with Elon Musk and David Sachs, who is Donald Trump's czar of AI and crypto, was to create a new world currency, free from all government control and dilution, the end of monetary sovereignty, as it were. Gil, talk to us about Peter Thiel's role and his manifesto that he wrote about a good 17 years ago.
A lot of the stuff I write about seems very crazy to people at first if they haven't heard about it. But fortunately, a lot of what I write about is simply what these guys have been saying for decades. What they claim to be doing, what they're planning to do, and now what they seem to be doing. Peter Thiel was born in Germany and lived in Namibia and South Africa as a child, but came to the United States as a child and grew up south of San Francisco. Went to Stanford University, studied philosophy and law, tried law, wasn't very interested in it, tried being a hedge fund manager, wasn't very good at it. But he was lucky he was in the right place at the right time in the late 90s in Silicon Valley. And he ends up investing in technology and technologists. Keep in mind, he's not a technologist himself. He's not a coder. He's not a computer programmer. He's a guy with enough money to make investments. And in 1997, Peter Thiel read a book called The Sovereign Individual. And this was a weird, creepy apocalypse theory book that said that in the 21st century, technology, specifically something called cyber currency and something called advanced automation, would topple nation states like the United States. And there would be a new world order that would rise up of
Crypto,
wealthy individuals. Cyber currency, we would call it crypto. It was described as a new digital kind of money that would undermine government authority and allow wealthy individuals to exfiltrate their wealth from the nation state, thereby hastening its collapse. And the other was advanced automation, this new technology that would kill most jobs and create economic devastation and chaos and violence, and thereby also cause the collapse of American society. We would call that AI. That's the narrative being promoted by the AI companies themselves today. Not that we necessarily believe everything they say, but that's their story. And Thiel was so inspired by this kooky apocalyptic book that he has credited it with being part of the inspiration for PayPal. And PayPal is what makes him a millionaire, introduces him to Elon Musk, and provides the basis for his fortune. He later becomes a billionaire by investing in Facebook. He was the first big investor in Facebook. And in 2020, when this kooky book is reissued, Peter Thiel writes the foreword to The Sovereign Individual. And by 1999, he was giving speeches in which he talked about, and you can look these up on YouTube, Peter Thiel and the currency that cannot be stopped, that there would be this new digital currency that would come out of nowhere and become a powerful force in society. And the people in Washington would be too stupid to know what it was doing, and there would be no way for them to stop it. And this is largely what we see happening now with crypto. So we've seen this convergence of these apocalyptic narratives around AI and crypto converge with these Silicon Valley billionaires, many of them influenced and closely connected to Peter Thiel, all come to power at the same time. And my book tells the story of how that happened, why it happened, what they want, and what we can do about it.
Well, let's just play a video. I had this set up for you. C5.
Passing the Strait of Hormuz right now, the Iranians are getting their payment in stable coins. This is counterfeit money. This is money, it's saying it's a US dollar, but it's not a US dollar. And its only real purpose is criminal activity. And to give you a sense of how much criminal activity we're talking about, last year a crypto company estimated $154 billion of criminal activity was facilitated via cryptocurrency. $154 billion in a single year. It is shocking and outrageous that our elected members of government are facilitating this. The largest stablecoin company is a company called Tether. The broker for Tether is Cantor Fitzgerald, Howard Lutnick's firm. So Howard Lutnick, or his kids, are in charge of Tether, the $200 billion stablecoin company, and Tether is the primary instrument for criminal activity in cryptocurrency.
And who was Howard Lutnick?
Commerce Secretary.
I'm just telling them.
Oh, sorry.
It's like,
sorry, I went deep.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta,
is the Secretary of Commerce under Donald Trump. Howard Lutnick is also really close to Epstein. He lied about it. And speaking about crypto, the person that has made the most money from crypto in the past 2 years is Donald Trump and his family from World Liberty Financial. Can you play C6 real quick?
President Trump's family crypto dealing is facing a flurry of new questions and ethics concerns. The president's own administration granting World Liberty Financial, a cryptocurrency firm co-owned by Trump and his sons, preliminary approval for a bank charter, allowing the company to issue its own specific kind of cryptocurrency instead of going through a third party. It's a move that could be lucrative, opening the door for potentially higher profits that go directly to the Trump family's expanding cryptocurrency empire. The decision coming from the Treasury's Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, run by a Trump appointee. Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren calling it the most brazen act of self-dealing our financial system has ever seen, and ethics experts sounding the alarm.
He's regulating himself, which means, in effect, there's no regulation. So if he breaks a regulatory requirement, if his business engages in more risky behavior than what's permitted under the law, there's no way to hold him accountable.
The White House denying any conflicts of
Gil,
interest.
I want to go to you with this, because this is on the heels of the announcement that we're now $40 trillion in debt, that the US dollar has weakened. And just last week, wouldn't you know it, the person who seemed to be welcoming the weakening of the dollar and suggested that the dollar should be removed as the world's currency was J.D. Vance. Can you make that make sense to us, Gil?
J.D. Vance is almost entirely a creation of Peter Thiel. At every single step of his career, it has been Peter Thiel guiding the way, funding him. He decided not to be a lawyer and to become a venture capitalist because of Peter Thiel, and got his start at a venture capital firm co-founded by Peter Thiel. When he decided to go back to Ohio and start his own firm, it was with investment from Peter Thiel. When he decided to become a senator, it was with a massive investment of money, $15 million, setting a record for individual contributions in the Senate race from Peter Thiel. When he decided to become a Catholic, drum roll please, it was because of the ideas of Peter Thiel, who, by the way, is not a Catholic. And when it was time for Vance to try to get on the ticket with Trump, he had a big problem. He had previously called Trump a cultural heroine, opioid of the masses, and America's Hitler. And it was Thiel and his cronies who made the peace between Trump and Vance. And now Vance is vice president of the United States. Vance is a puppet of Thiel, a creation of Thiel. He is Peter Thiel's boy. And so it makes sense that he's talking all this undermine the government's role, reserve currency, etc., because he is one of them, without a doubt. And I would say for many years, people said that crypto had no use cases except for crime, terrorism, aiding rogue states, scams, human trafficking, and gambling. But that's not fair. It turns out that crypto's true purpose has been found. It is a weapon of mass corruption that is destroying any semblance of ethics and morality in Washington. Not that there was much there to begin with, but the scale of the Trump family's corruption is so massive that it's almost impossible to put into words, to express how massive this is. We are under assault from a crypto cartel that has no shame and no compunction about trying to buy our entire system in order to break it. Crypto is a technology to destroy democracy, and so is Donald Trump. And anyone who votes for crypto, anyone who speaks in favor of crypto bills or takes crypto money, including on the Democratic side, should be viewed with complete distrust. They are on the wrong side of history. They are on the wrong side of democracy.
Amen. And I would say that Peter Thiel is openly telling you, Epstein was openly telling you, they want to undo the post-World War II order. They want to undo regulations. They want to undo transparency. Why would anyone want to do that? Maybe, just maybe, so they can continue with their criminal operations, such as an international sex trafficking ring, which rapes children. But I digress. You have J.D. Vance. He's the vice president. J.D. Vance follows this Silicon Valley philosopher, Curtis Yarvin. And Peter Thiel loves Curtis Yarvin. And Curtis Yarvin gives a window into their end game. What is Curtis Yarvin's end game once they get rid of democracy? What does he think that, is the best alternative to, say, this flawed democratic experiment that has flourished after post World War II?
Curtis Yarvin believes that the American revolutionaries should have lost the American Revolution and that the United States should have remained a monarchy. Curtis Yarvin advocates for monarchy, and now he's upgraded that to dictatorship. I think he figured out that kings don't sound very good to people here in the 21st century. You got to call it by its 20th century name, a dictator. He specifically advocates for a president to get elected and then act like an authoritarian and install himself as a dictator. And starting in like 2008, 2009, he was writing these essays saying that a future president should conduct a purge of the federal government, destroy the civil service, install loyalists who would carry out his plans. This president should ignore laws, should ignore Congress. And he has upgraded this idea over the past 15 years. And in 2021, when he was running for Senate, J.D. Vance gave an interview to a right-wing podcast where he named Curtis Yarvin and then said if Trump got elected again, in fact, Vance said Trump would be elected again in 2024, and that when he got elected, he should purge the federal government and he should conduct a denazification or debothification of the entire civil service and install loyalists. And he should break the law and defy the courts to force him to follow the law. And that's exactly what proceeded to happen. But with J.D. Vance by Trump's side. And again, remember, Vance was a never Trump guy. Vance was an atheist. Vance was named James David Hamill. And now he's J.D. Vance, a Catholic, a pro-Trumper. This is a man with no stable identity. He's just sort of a heat-seeking missile for power and ambition. And that's a very dangerous kind of person to have a heartbeat away from the presidency, especially when he's a fully owned subsidiary of Peter Thiel. And, the media doesn't really talk about this too much. But I feel like if Kamala Harris or some other vice president who was a Democrat had such a tight relationship with a zealous, crazy billionaire and a fascist philosopher like Curtis Yarvin, we would never stop hearing about it. There'd be editorials, there'd be demands for impeachment. Instead, there's this sort of cloak of immunity around Vance, but he is a dangerous, radical extremist. And if he becomes president of the United States, it will be much, much worse than anything we've seen under Donald Trump.
Our previous guest, Dr. MarkAlain Dery, said that what this current administration is doing is soft eugenics. And that is also tied to the Epstein worldview, because Epstein's fingerprints have been on all of this, with Peter Thiel, with Elon Musk, with the investment in crypto, with the investment in right-wing disinformation. He also wanted to undo the post-World War II order, right? Epstein's fingerprints are all in this. But I want you to comment about how these people are also united around soft eugenics. That makes up their worldview.
I wouldn't even say it's soft. I'd say it's hard, right? These folks believe they are the elites, the chosen few. And in that book I mentioned earlier on, The Sovereign Individual, one of the other words for the sovereign individual, which would be this wealthy new kind of global elite who would operate outside of laws and democracies, was cognitive elites. These are the people who are just simply more intelligent and better than everyone else. And that's a term that was taken from a 1994 book called The Bell Curve, which argued that intelligence was genetic, basically, and based on, your race. And so it's not very hidden at all. This idea of eugenics goes throughout this. And, white supremacy is Donald Trump's superpower. He was able to tap into this base of white supremacists who fear a brown or black planet and who think that they can now make moves to expel everybody else and make America white again. And these guys are very much the same way. One of the things that makes them fascist is their demand for a hierarchy in society to rule the world. And that hierarchy is men over women, whites over non-whites, Western cultures over other cultures, Christianity over other religions, to the degree that they even believe in Christianity, straights over LGBTQ people in general, rich over the poor, the owners over the workers, and on and on and on. So this is straight up an ordering of the world, that there are some people who are better than others, and it's time to stop pretending and just impose that order and that hierarchy on the world. So it's inescapable, this idea. I mean, now you've got this trend in Silicon Valley with people trying to mess with their baby's genes and have a perfect child. This idea that humanity
Also
can be
living
perfected.
forever.
Living forever is another one of them. Multiplanetary travel, transhumanism. They hate trans people, but they want to be transhuman. Very strange contradiction. How far they're willing to go. Some people even have their Tesla car chips implanted in their hands, which actually doesn't work. Apparently, it will reject it. Even your body doesn't want Elon Musk inside of it, obviously. But there's no way to get away from it. This is an ideology of supremacy, of white supremacy, of male supremacy, of wealth supremacy, and of tech supremacy.
And if you don't believe Gil, you think, oh, he's a crackpot. These people are telling you their ideology. Like the world's most helpful Bond supervillain, they are writing manifestos. I'm not making this up. I got to bring this up. Bring me this still, C4. Because Palantir, that we talked about on Monday, is also connected to the Nerd Reich. Gil will bring it up. And Alex Karp, the unhinged CEO of Palantir, wrote a 22-point manifesto that he published on Twitter. And Gil said the CEO of Palantir posted a fascist manifesto on X. I pointed out that it was fascist, which resulted in a permanent suspension from X, my second time. I thought it was all about free speech. Interesting. So when you hear the tweeters complaining that Bluesky is intolerant, remember why many of us came here in the first place. Gil, what was so scary about you using the term fascist to describe Palantir's manifesto? What's in that manifesto, and how is it tied to the Nerd Reich?
The Palantir manifesto was drawn from Alex Karp, the Palantir CEO's book, The Technological Republic. And it was basically this cry for Silicon Valley to become a militaristic government force with compulsive military service that works to dominate over the inferior cultures of the world, and on and on and on, right? It was just straight up fascist dreck. I don't think it should have even been controversial to point it out. Certainly they must have known that's what they were doing. And so I just said TLDR, too long didn't read, fascism. And next thing I know, I'm banned from Twitter, which is funny because I wasn't even a big deal on Twitter. I'm not one of these people with hundreds of thousands or millions of followers. But lately, as my book publication drew near, I had started to kind of pick up steam. I had tweeted out a picture of my book cover a couple of days before, and it got over 1,000 reposts. And then the Palantir manifesto one was headed that way when I suddenly got banned. And at first people thought that, oh, you just been mass reported and the algorithm got triggered. If you appeal it, you'll be able to get back on. And I figured that might be the case. But I appealed it twice, and I'm not getting back on there. I'm banned for life, and that's fine with me. I'm a lot more clear-headed now. Twitter's a poison pit. Whenever I do catch a glimpse of what's happening over there, it does not resemble the reality I'm in at all. So be aware. I think it's a tool of information warfare. But the fact that more journalists haven't migrated over to other platforms is ridiculous. I'm now a lot bigger deal on Bluesky than I ever was on X, and my Instagram is also taking off because of my book, which is hilarious. I've been on Instagram since the beginning, and it's been a boring photos of little things I do, but now I have to post there. But I mean, they're threatened by this whole narrative, and there are very few people talking about it. And so it kind of worked. If you look at X, there's not a lot of dialogue about my book over there, whereas in other platforms, it's really taken off. But yeah, they're afraid of this conversation.
Palantir has received billions of dollars of contracts from not just the United States government, but also UK government. It is a proud surveillance state operation. Palantir are the orbs that the bad guys used in Lord of the Rings. Alex Karp, the head of Palantir, has promoted his pro-fascist manifesto on Twitter. One of the greatest investors in Palantir was Peter Thiel, and I have to show this video because you all think I'm crazy. Just play a bit of this video, if you don't mind, of give me a second. Wait. C3, Wanji.
He thought there was two cyber companies. Look out, and even though I know Peter, I've never met Peter Thiel, and everybody says he sort of jumps around and acts sort of strange, like he's on drugs.
Smoking, yeah. He looks under drugs.
However, he has a company called Palantir. Pallen. Tier. Palantir is Peter Thiel's company, and look out.
Palantir, Palantir.
Yes.
Wanju, that's good. Gil, I think you know that. Can you tell us the two people speaking on that in that audio clip? You want to take a guess?
I don't know. Who are those people? And they can't spell, by the way.
Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh,
and
Lord.
Former Prime Minister of Israel, Ehud Barak.
Interesting. Well, the Epstein connection. I mean, first of all, Peter Thiel co-founded Palantir, right? And it's funny because for a long time, Peter Thiel's been described as a libertarian, and libertarians generally are, have an antipathy toward government. But Peter Thiel has been a government military surveillance contractor since around 2003. Palantir was co-founded with investment from the CIA's venture capital arm, In-Q-Tel. So how could he be a libertarian? But, all these kind of fuzzy brain tech journalists have long described him as a libertarian, which is hilarious. But so he's been at the heart of military surveillance for a long time, and Palantir has become a massive company under Trump. Not only are the tech billionaires, not just Thiel, but others, pouring millions and billions into the Trump family coffers, at the same time, government money is going into the companies founded by all of these billionaires. So we have this unvirtuous cycle of massive corruption where everybody's getting richer and more powerful the entire time. And Epstein...
We're getting poorer.
We're getting poorer and more diseased, and everything's getting worse for the average person under this regime. And what's interesting is that in January 2025, Peter Thiel wrote an essay for the Financial Times in which he said that Trump's return to power would be an apocalypsis, an apocalyptic revealing of hidden truths. And he even said that maybe Epstein was killed. He hinted that that might be a thing. It was very strange. But what we found out a few months later was that Epstein and Thiel had a very close relationship that had not been previously disclosed. In fact, Epstein had invested, according to the New York Times, $40 million with Thiel's companies, which had now become like closer to $170 million, and was one of the largest parts of the Epstein estate. And it's very strange that everywhere you look, there's Epstein. There were emails in the Epstein files where Epstein told Thiel that Brexit was the beginning of this kind of destruction of the global order. And Epstein was a major player in the early development of Bitcoin, crypto. And, you could look at Epstein Island and say it was kind of a prototype for a network state. These guys have this idea they're going to build.
Save it for the book. Save it for the book. Gil.
Sure. Anyway, there's a deep rabbit hole of Epstein and these tech guys, and it's pretty weird. So the apocalypse, the unveiling, ended up being Thiel's relationship with Epstein.
It's the incestuous cabal of fascist racists who are deliberately in front of our face orchestrating the collapse of the post-World War II order in order to profit and escape any accountability. I got State Representative Angie Nixon waiting, but Gil, real quick, shamelessly promote yourself.
Hey, Gil Duran, you can find me at thenerdreich.com. Please buy my book today or tomorrow. First week sales matter more than anything, and we're doing so far so good, but we could always use a little more. So please buy the book if you can at your local independent bookstore.
And on Monday, if you're in the Bay Area, come out to the Commonwealth Club where I'm talking to Gil about his brilliant book, The Nerd Reich, folks. If you think it sounds crazy, it is, but it's happening. Thank you, Gil. See you Monday, buddy. Folks, this is the second hour of the Joy Reid Show. If you're watching, welcome. Don't worry, Joyanne's going to be back on Monday. I'm just filling in her heels. If you're watching on Substack, please subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the notification button. If you're listening on the podcast, wherever you're listening, subscribe. If you're on Twitcher, keep twitching. But come back for State Representative Angie Nixon, who was outspent 16-1 and won by double digits. Oh, baby, right after the break.
The Joy Reid Show is brought to you by the protein bar that keeps getting away. Yes, that's right, our friends at Mosh, the Joy Reid Show team's favorite snack bar. And we know that because they keep on disappearing. And I'm sure they're your favorite too, based on the chats, because y'all are always talking about Mosh, and I understand why. Not only do I understand why you guys are always talking about them, I understand, honestly, why someone on our team keeps making off with them. Mosh is an amazing bar. They're great tasting. They taste great, but they also do the world good. And that is like a bonus to having a great snack bar. The company was founded by Maria Shriver and her son, Patrick Schwarzenegger, after her experience in her family with her father contracting Alzheimer's and was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And so she and Patrick decided they wanted to do some good in the world by focusing on brain health. So Mosh protein bars are made with ingredients that support brain and body. They support brain health. Things like ashwagandha, lion's mane, omega-3s. Plus, Mosh is the first and only food brand that is boosted with something called Cognizant, which is a game-changing premium form of citrulline that helps support your brain. It helps support focus, memory, and mental clarity. They also taste amazing, clearly, based on the fact that they keep disappearing. They have 9 delicious flavors, and they also have plant-based. So those of you who are plant-based, they've got that as well. Some of the options: chocolate chip cookie, hazelnut chocolate chip, peanut chocolate chip. And now you can save on Mosh while also making your wellness routine effortless and fun. You can get 25% off plus free shipping on your first 15 count variety pack. So you can put all of your favorites in your variety pack and get a great 25% discount. You can also get 20% for life on a monthly subscription. You can swap your flavors anytime you want. You can keep your favorites coming in. When new flavors come out, you can add those as well. And that way you're sort of eating healthy and eating well, and eating for your brain becomes a simple habit that you can feel great about. And Mosh also does the world good by donating a portion of the proceeds from every single order to the Women's Alzheimer's Movement, because 2/3 of Alzheimer's patients are women. And Mosh is working to close that gap. It is more than just a protein bar. It is brain fuel with a purpose. And well, they're also great tasting if you can keep them. When the yours disappear, if you get the subscription, you'll always have more. Find your favorites, build your boxes, and keep things fresh with a variety pack. Mosh bars are the best way to customize your health while giving back. So if you want to try them for yourself, head to moshlife.com/read and subscribe today to get 25% off your first variety pack and 20% off your monthly subscription using the code REID, R-E-I-D. That is 25% off your first pack and 20% off your subscription of brain-boosting, delicious Mosh bars delivered straight to your door. So start building brain health and good eating habits for your brain every day with Mosh bars. Thanks to Mosh for sponsoring this episode. And please send more just for me. Thank you.
Apparently, we're going to have to eat Mosh bars because we can't have blueberries, granola, guac, or salsa, or eggs or meat without worrying if we're going to pee from our butt. Thank you, RFK, and this pro-death cult. But we're going to go to some good news. How do you fight back? How do you fight back against billionaires? How do you fight back against the Epstein class? How do you fight back against APAC and AI and crypto? Should you become a centrist? Should you be timid? Should you be lukewarm? Should you be kind of a quisling who promises nothing? Or should you be a bold champion of what the people need? Should you have a bold agenda? Should you have, wait for it, a progressive agenda? Can that progressive agenda win? Is that progressive agenda electable? I've been told that the average American, the real American, won't like it. But guess what? Angie Nixon just proved you all wrong. State Representative Angie Nixon from the great state of Florida. Folks, she just won Tuesday's Florida Democratic Senate primary. That's right. Give it up for Angie Nixon. She was outspent 16-1. Alex Vindman had $16.3 million. Angie Nixon had $975,000. Angie, I heard you didn't even have enough money to buy a TV ad. Was this correct?
Why you got to put my business out like that?
Because I'm giving you, listen, 60. Anyone who knows politics, you get outspent 16-1. It's over. It's finished. The person who has the one is going to lose by double digits. Can you please make it make sense to me how you, who was unelectable, whom the Democratic establishment, I'm going to say it, you're not going to say it, said, don't invest in her, who got attacked by APAC and AI and crypto money. How did you beat Vindman by 12 points, despite being outspent 16-1?
Well, I think it first starts with like who I am, right? So I am number one. I am a community organizer, a former union organizer. And so I know how to talk to people. I know the importance of organizing and going to every area, knocking on every door and talking to every voter. I actually helped lead to the increase of the minimum wage here a few years ago as a statewide organizer with SEIU. I also worked on the Automatic Rights Restoration Campaign, Amendment 4, to allow returning citizens to get their right to vote. And then also, like, I was a single mom for 12 years, and so I know how to make money stretch. And so I was able to be successful because I was traveling all across the state of Florida in my own family van that we wrapped for the campaign. I was sleeping on Representative Michelle Rayner's floor when I was going to the Tampa Bay area. I would crash on my cousin's couches and just different things like that because I knew that I just needed to make that money stretch, but I knew that I could outwork him. What this says is that, organized people, right? Organized people beats big money each and every day of the week.
And we saw that also in my hometown of the East Bay, where $3 to $6 million, I think the final estimate, $6 million, was spent by, not exclusively, but majority of it came from APAC against Aisha Wahab. She won. We saw $63 million against Abdullah Said. He won. We saw millions of dollars against Mamdani. He won. We saw millions of dollars against Peggy Flanagan. She won. Against Matt Little, he won. Donovan McKinney, he won. Milad Kiros, she won. And all of these folks that I've mentioned are progressives. Not all of them are DSA like you, but they're all progressives. And they have a very scary platform. And folks, trigger warning, this is going to scare y'all. I'm going to put up a still. I need a gong with this. Give me D1. It's very terrifying. Fox News had this. All right. Okay, hold on. Whew. Oh, okay, Angie, hold on. Let me go through. Medicare for all, free childcare, free paid family and sick leave, national rent freeze and moratorium on evictions, tax the rich, abolish ICE. And you won Florida off of that. What magic did you do on the Floridian people? Tell us.
I just had conversations with people. I mean, that's it. That is what it takes. You have to go out and talk to people and you share your story, right? You share your personal story. How did you arrive at that moment? And you talk about the now, right? Like how this is impacting us now. And I really just kept it on an economic mission, the economic frame, right? Like we are all hurting. It doesn't matter if you're a Republican. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or independent. Like we are all literally getting screwed. And that's because many of these folks in our parties, right, like at the top, they are corporate backed, right? Like they are beholden to corporate interests. And so what I believe and how I operate is that hardworking everyday people should get to shape what our communities look like and what our economies look like. And that's not what's happening right now. And I believe in putting the power back in the hands of the people. And that's really been resonating. There has been a lot of talk about my upbringing and just how I talk. And
you talk like a Southerner. You talk like my wife grew up in Florida. I saw old clips and I'm like, who is that? She's like, get over here. And I'm like, is that you? I'm like, what? You talk like a Floridian.
Yeah, but Donald Trump called me a lunatic and basically said I don't know how to talk and all these things. But I'm college educated, right? But that doesn't even matter. Like, what are you saying? Are you trying to say that people who don't have a college education, who don't talk as eloquently as someone else, that they don't have the right to run for office? As a matter of fact, those are the types of people that we should want to run for office because they are regular, everyday people. And so I think I'm pissing a lot of folks off because I am not being, your typical kitchen, like cookie cutter politician. I never have been and I never will be. I took on the establishment when I ran for this seat in the first place for state rep and I won. I was outspent 5-1. I did that while I was pregnant and had COVID. I'm not pregnant. I don't have COVID now, so I'm working even harder. And so people just don't know where to put me at, right? But this goes back to like how I grew up. I grew up on the north side of Jacksonville on Moncrief Road, and my mom bused me across town because she said she didn't want to make the same mistake that she made with my brother. And that's because the neighborhood schools didn't have the resources that more affluent schools had that were magnet programs, right? More affluent neighborhoods and more affluent neighborhoods. And so while I was there, like I was the odd one out, right? Like being one of the only Black kids in a room, right? In a classroom. And then coming back home, having homework and learning different things and being exposed to different things. Like I still didn't fit in all the time with my neighborhood neighbors, my children, the children in the neighborhood. And so it's like I've always kind of been able to meander like through and not really fit one box. And I think that's why like some of the mainstream media is pissed off. Some of my Democratic Party members are kind of like confused and perplexed. And then like now Republicans are upset because they can't just pigeonhole me. But look, that's how everybody is anyway. Like we never fit in one just box. Like we think differently, we're diverse, and that's what makes our country great. And so I'm excited to be the Democratic nominee for the United States Senate in the state of Florida. That is wild to me though. But I'm happy, I'm excited, and I'm looking forward to really focusing on the issues that people care about.
And I want people to really sit with this. I'm going to say it again. They didn't give you a chance. And I'm talking about I'm talking about corporate media, I'm talking about Democrats, I'm talking about Republicans. And it actually was a benefit. I was talking to someone about this, that maybe progressive candidates like you who are actually representing people's righteous rage and hopes, if they fly under the radar, maybe that's the way to win, right? We want Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom, everyone focus on Gavin Newsom, right? Because Angie, you're outspent. Democratic Party said, this is an uphill race anyway, but Vindman probably has a better chance. I'm sure you saw some of the unnamed strategists who came out and said, well, now we don't have to waste money in Florida because Angie doesn't. You saw that? Angie doesn't have a chance. You're progressive. You're a DSA member. You're for Medicare for all. You're for abolish ICE. You are gung-ho pro-Palestinian. You call it out the genocide. All these things that scare the establishment. All these things that we're told there's no way someone with that platform would win over real Americans in the South or Heartland. Talk to us about how that platform resonated with a lot of folks who are missing from the story, such as Black people in Florida.
Yeah, I mean, what's very unfortunate is too often what I've witnessed and experienced here in our state is that the Democratic Party often wants our labor, Black people, but not necessarily our leadership. And I'm pushing back on that, right? And I also think it's just important to know that we just have to go talk to people. Like that's the winning formula. I just go and talk to people. There are people who don't agree with me on my stance on Palestine and Israel, but they know that I am willing to have a conversation with them. I listen, and sometimes like I change certain other policy positions, though not all, right? Like, but I'm willing to listen. Like even when it makes me uncomfortable, because that's how we progress, right? And so folks aren't used to that. Like, folks are used to people just giving them lip service and telling them what they want to hear. I have the moral clarity, and I've literally been on calls, and I'm like, I understand where you're coming from, but this is my stance. Well, would you do that? No, this is my stance. And this is what it is. And I said, I would love your support, but if you don't support me, I understand. But when I win, I plan to still represent you and still allow you to come and meet with me, because I plan on having an open door policy like I have always had. And so I can really just point to what I've done in the past, how I have had, advisory committees, right? Comprised of people from different sectors and backgrounds, races, religion, socioeconomic statuses and ages, right? To help inform me about the policies that I should push through. Also, to help inform me about the way in which the community feels about legislation that is coming onto my desk and how I should vote for it or vote against it, right? Like, I don't profess to know everything. I am not one of those politicians, but I do like to surround myself with people who are subject matter experts to help inform me about things. And at the end of the day, like, me being in the office is not about me. It's about the people that I represent and what their needs are. And so there have been times where I have voted against my caucus. I have been the only no vote on certain bills, or there have been times where I may have supported like a Republican bill and my caucus didn't, right? But it is only because, like, I'm thinking about people, right? I'm not thinking about whether or not this is going to cause the Republican leadership to kill one of my bills or take away some of my funding. Like, right is right and wrong is wrong, right? We are in this situation right now in our country because people have compromised their values away. I'm not compromising the values of my people, and my people are Floridians. And so, I'm excited about this election and this campaign. I hope people don't try to box me into a label, right? And
Kristen
really,
Walker tried that. I saw that. Kristen Walker tried that. I mean, that was a shameful interview, and she was so proud of it that instead of talking to you like I'm talking to you right now, she brought up like these fringe talking points of some DSA members that are not representative of AOC, Bernie, and you. And I think you handled that very deftly. Earlier today, I also saw Cassie Hunt, who seemed so angry at you and kept cutting you off because of your position on Medicare for All, which is against Hakeem Jeffries' position. He made it very clear on Kristen Welker's show where he stands on Medicare for All, even though about 90% of Democrats want it. A Yale study showed that it would save 110,000 lives, save $1.3 trillion. So they're coming at you with everything. I've seen the interviews, and you're just like Neo from the Matrix. You're like, pop, 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 pop.
But I mean, I experienced this though. Again, I was a single mom for 12 years, and I have had to make tough decisions around, like, okay, my daughter's asthma pump costs this much, right? Like, and her EpiPen. But I gotta pay rent and I gotta put food on the table. What do I do, right? And it's decisions that people should not have to make. And what pisses me off, especially, is that my daughter, I am proof positive of what happens when government does it right. Even with my daughter, like, my daughter was on kid care because I was a single mom. I was working for the state. I was barely making any money working for the state. And I got on kid care, which is basically like a Medicaid program for working people, for your children. And Ashley Moody recently diverted $10 million, allowed the diversion of $10 million for this program for our most medically needy children to be used to defeat 2 citizen-led ballot initiatives that would have helped improve the health and well-being of Floridians. But she's calling me radical and extreme. She's attacking me when she voted against extending the ACA subsidies, which knocked off nearly 300,000 people off of the Affordable Care Act rolls. It is shameful what she's doing. And she could have gone up against these insurance companies that continually jack up our property insurance rates, our car insurance rates here, and our health insurance rates here in the state of Florida. But she didn't. And that's because she took money from them to run for reelection as the attorney general. And so I'm tired. Like, I'm tired. And I know everyone else who lives in Florida who are working harder than ever and still struggling just to stay afloat. They are tired too. And so I am not going to mince my words and bite my tongue. I'm going to stand up and fight and push back and work to build not only a Florida, but in America for all.
I know you're tired of extremists, and I want to see this still. D2. I need an Angie Nixon translator because this photo goes hard in the paint. I love this photo. All right, Angie Nixon translator. What was Angie Nixon thinking looking at Ron DeSantis?
I can't say what I was thinking because I would get in trouble. But I was angry. That man came to my district after three Black people were slaughtered by a white supremacist because he emboldened them with his hateful, harmful rhetoric, his anti-woke rhetoric. And they initially went to an HBCU, Edward Waters University, the oldest HBCU in our state, to shoot up kids. He left a manifesto saying he wanted to kill the N-words. Ron DeSantis refused to call him a racist or a white supremacist. He said the guy was just crazy. Ron DeSantis, like I told Joy back then, he struck the match, lit the flame, and he fanned it with all of his hateful rhetoric. I cannot stand Ron DeSantis. With a passion. He has said he is racist. Like, he said, don't monkey this up when Andrew Gillum was running against him for governor. And because a Black man got so close to the governor's mansion, this dude decided to attack Voting Rights Act after the overwhelmingly peaceful protests after George Floyd was executed on the streets. This guy pushed this anti-protest bill. He is so hateful. He also created this expensive political stunt where he went after immigrants because he was running for president and he wanted to make it seem like he was going after the worst of the worst, but he went after people who were documented here the right way and threw them in cages that had feces everywhere when it rained. Shame on him. He knows I can't stand him. He had me arrested because I let a sit-in because I wanted to demand a conversation with him about why he made it so that politicians could choose their voters and voters wouldn't be able to choose who would represent them. I don't like him, like, at all. And he knows it. And I am so happy that his political career is done. And if he tries to run for another thing, Angie Nixon is going to be on that ass. Can I say that?
Yes, you can.
Angie Nixon is going to be on that ass. So, yeah.
Can we go back to that photo? Let's go back for 1 second. Goated photo. That's what Angie Nixon's going to do to the people who come in and steal your wealth. That's what she's going to do to the people who come in and abuse your liberties. That's Angie Nixon. She's fighting for the people. I have to, since I got you riled up, I load the double standards, Angie. Whether people like you or don't like you, now that's up to you for the next 2.5 months to go win over people, to talk to people, right? But the double standards, and I'm glad you brought the receipts about DeSantis, because the extremism is so palpable, it's so naked, it's so shameless, it's out there. But yet here you are with Kristen Welker, and she's making you debunk or criticize positions you've never had before, right?
Yeah.
The double standards are so obscene that there is another person from Florida who won, a hate monger, Randy Fine, Representative Randy Fine, who openly has said that mainstream Muslims like me should be destroyed, who compared Muslims to dogs, who just last week compared us to jihadis, got the full endorsement of Donald Trump. Barely any news items about this. Imagine if he said this about any other group of people, right? He won his election, and he had the audacity to say this about you. Play this video, because I want you to respond.
To abolish prison. She said that she brings her young children to drag shows. I don't know. What does her victory tell you about where the Democratic Party is headed? And does putting a candidate like Nixon on the ballot make Republicans' job in Florida that much easier come November?
Yeah, look, one of the big winners last night was Ashley Moody, because I had the distinct displeasure of having to serve with Angie Nixon when I was in the Florida House. And she's a uniquely unintelligent person. I mean, I don't say that to be mean. I can't run very fast. I mean, these are just things that we have as attributes. And the things that she believes are just moronic, including, by the way, she's an open Jew hater. She advanced legislation in the Florida House to support Hamas. And so, I mean, she's just not smart. And so she defaults to a lot of these ridiculous socialist and communist views. Ashley will clean the clock with her. If the Democrats in Washington spend a nickel on that Senate race, I will be surprised.
Yeah.
Angie, your response.
He's an idiot. He's an idiot who was bullied when he was younger, and so he says really hurtful and harmful things. He needs a hug.
Are you going to be the one to hug him?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Randy Fine is gross. Doesn't he look like that cartoon character? What's his
Peter from
Yes.
Family Guy. But why disparage Peter? He can be some like, you know, why gotta do Peter bad like that?
Randy Fine is gross. He's disgusting.
And just the double standard. Look at that. That should have been a head. Imagine if, God forbid, a Democrat said that about a black Republican woman. Look at what's happening about Natalie Harp. John Ossoff said one line about Natalie Harp, and they are so angry for 3 days. But that's allowed to go without any criticism, Angie. And he said that about a black woman.
I'm a Democratic black woman from the South who stands up for myself. So of course they're gonna attack me. But guess what? I'm used to being attacked. I live in the South, and it is what it is. I'm looking forward to firing people up so that we can actually go out and energize a base of people, knock on doors, make phone calls. We're gonna win this thing. Ashley Moody bashed me earlier today or either yesterday at a press conference, and then she ran and didn't answer any questions from the press. She's not ready. I look forward to eating her up in debate.
Some Democrats, like I mentioned, and I read this, an unnamed Democratic strategist gave a quote right after your shocking victory and said, well, you know, this was already an uphill race for Democrats. They didn't expect to win, even with Vindman. But now there's no chance that Angie wins. We don't have to spend money. To those who still doubt you, and to those who, you know, don't necessarily doubt you, but say it's Florida, it's unwinnable, it's done. What do you say to them about the chances of you as a progressive Democrat winning a Senate seat in Florida?
For sure. I mean, I was doubted before. Again, I've unseated incumbents before, establishment incumbents being outspent 5-1 while I was 9 months pregnant with COVID. I can do it now. I didn't unseat someone. I ran against someone and beat them, even though they raised nearly $18 million, I believe it was last, and we barely broke $1 million. And so I'm fighting for my state and my country. I have 5 kids between me and my husband. We have a beautiful blended family. And I'm tired of lying awake at night, wondering, right, about the type of world, the type of country that I'm leaving them. And so I'm going to fight like hell to make sure that I leave them in a better situation than what they have right now. And so the worst thing people can ever do is underestimate a Southern Black woman.
You also raised $1 million in the past day. Is that correct?
Yeah, we did. Within 48 hours after I was nominated to be the Democratic nominee,
We raised $1 million. We are seeing massive endorsements come in from all across the country. And, you know, there's also people calling me, trying to get me to change who I am. This is me, baby. Like, this is me, 365. And I'm not changing for anyone because no one should have to change to fit a box or to make people feel more comfortable. We all deserve to be who we are, and we all want the same things. That's to be healthy, prosperous, and safe.
I lost you. What happened to your audio? Get her audio back.
Oh, can you
The
not
man
hear me?
factor at the end. Can you all hear her? I
Oh
can't.
no.
Oh no, something just happened at the last second. I would say Aunt Angie. That's what they're calling you, Aunt Angie. I think something happened with the audio, but it's okay. Oh no, can you hear me now? Ah, what happened? We can hear her. I can't hear her. That's so strange. Why can't I hear her?
Can you hear me now?
I can't hear. Oh my gosh, is this a glitch with me? All right, might be a glitch with me. I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened on my end. Give me 1 second. All right, can you say something, Angie, real quick?
Testing.
Yes, got it. Okay, it was me. It was me. I'm so sorry. The man tried to get me. Angie, I would say you be you. You know, someone just gave you a compliment in the comment section. They said, not a single soundbite. This was a fantastic interview. I'm thinking you came all the way here being you. Inshallah, you ride this. You ride this all the way. And inshallah, you ride it to victory. We need this type of representation, a bold, progressive vision that says Medicare for all, tax the billionaires, abolish ICE, free Palestine, no money for foreign illegal wars. And to bring it back full circle, you talk about your past life. I want to bring up this origin story. I did a little bit of research. D4, can you bring me D4? Look at all the cool things that Angie Nixon has done. Melanin Market, the co-founder of Melanin Market, an outdoor market which allows small business owners to sell healthy food options and connects residents to local resources. An applause for that, Wanji. Literary works. Angie Nixon co-authored a book with her daughter, Natalie McGriff, when Natalie was 7. In response to her low self-esteem about her natural hair, Nixon suggested the two write a comic-style children's book about a girl whose Astro Puffs transform her into a powerful superhero. The Adventures of Moxie McGriff was born. And the food industry. In 2019, Nixon, along with her daughter, opened a smoothie ice cream sandwich shop on the east side of Jacksonville called Natalie's Nook and Candy Shop. She then became a state senator, and now she's the winner of Tuesday's Florida Democratic Senate primary. Angie Nixon, final word to you.
My final word is, look, y'all, I believe that hardworking everyday people should get to shape what our communities look like and what our economies look like. It doesn't have to be this way, and we can actually send bold, unapologetic fighters to Washington, D.C., who are going to push back against the corruption and chaos that's happening. And I hope folks join my People Power campaign at angienixon.com. Sign up to volunteer, sign up to donate, and join us to actually flip this seat, not just blue, but back to the hands of the people.
Thank you for that. And just, you can help me transition to my next guest. This war in Iran, is it a success or is it a failure that needs to stop and end immediately?
It's a failure that definitely needs to stop and end immediately. We need our gas prices going down so that it'll help lower everything else as well.
Thank you, Angie Nixon. Come back anytime. That's Angie Nixon. She's running to represent the great state of Florida as a proud progressive and member of the Democratic Socialist Party. She is a DSA member. She's progressive. She won by 12 points, despite being outspent 16-1. She's a Democrat, and she said she's also a capitalist. So don't you all worry if you're worried about that DSA label. She said she's a capitalist, and she got it done. And now we have Robert Pape, Dr. Robert Pape, University of Chicago professor who is waiting patiently. He's the author of the upcoming book author of Our Own Worst Enemies, America in the Age of Violent Populism, which is available now. He has also been warning America about this disastrous war with Iran. He said, Donald Trump, for the love of God, please don't do something that no other president has ever done. Do not join Netanyahu in this war. It'll be a quagmire. In fact, he had a term, an escalation trap, which is also the name of a Substack. And speaking about the viral collapse of America, as literally people are dying, as there are war crimes, guess what, folks? A lot of folks in the military-industrial complex are making money. A lot of people within the Trump orbit are insider trading off of the war. Robert, for those who don't know, what is the escalation crisis and the escalation trap that you warned about?
Well, thanks so much, Waj, for having me on. And I had a chance to watch this great show for quite a bit. And I just want to start out by saying that a lot of your guests are saying one theme, and I want to build on this theme. Donald Trump doesn't just play with fire, Waj. He radicalizes people, and he radicalizes people going against each other. And you saw that with the vaccinations, what he's doing with your segment there. You saw that in your most recent segment. And this is what you see in the Iran war and why it's an escalation trap. You see, Donald Trump took on the biggest country that we went up against as a foe since Germany in World War II with Iran. And he did it casually. He did it almost thinking this was a drive-by shooting. He's going to bomb some leaders, kill a supreme leader, get a few notches on his belt, and this was going to somehow be over in a weekend. This was never going to be this way. This was never going to be this way, Waj. Right. And what it was going to do was by having this whole idea, it was going to radicalize Iran. Now, I'm not saying Iran was all Mr. Nice Guy, so I don't want to paint a picture of Iran as never did anything wrong in the world. After all, in January,
authoritarian regime,
and they look at what they did to their own people in January of this year. So I don't want to go that far, but nonetheless, if you look at how Donald Trump has treated the Middle East, how much he's supported Israel, and I don't just mean in the last year and a half, I mean going all the way back to his first term. What's happening, Waj, is he is radicalizing the Middle East. And as this has happened and gotten worse and worse, and you see it with Iran in particular, he got us in the Iran war in this escalation trap where he doesn't attack, and it does kill the leader, but it doesn't win the war. We get a defeat right away because Iran takes Hormuz. And once Iran takes Hormuz, you might think, oh, okay, this didn't work out so well. Let's get out of this thing. Let's stop, because it didn't work out. And that's not what's happened. He's kept digging the hole deeper and deeper. And this is going on now 6 solid months. And on Monday, we're about to get the new twist in the escalation trap, where we're going to go and we're going to widen this. We're going to start taking on more countries. We haven't beaten Iran. Now we're going to take on more Iran's trading partners. I got news. I mean, this includes Pakistan, nuclear weapons, Russia, nuclear weapons, China, not just nuclear weapons, U.S. treasuries, all kinds of things.
Also, he threatened to bomb Oman. Let's not forget Oman.
Threatened to bomb Oman. So my point here, Waj, is what the escalation trap is when you think you're going to have a short-term victory, but it leads to it leads to a defeat, and you keep going. You escalate up, trying to dig yourself out of the hole. But what happens? You get deeper and deeper. And President Trump, what Trump has done is he has radicalized Iran. Now it's not just Trump. Iran wants revenge.
Yeah.
They want payback. Look at all those 10 million plus who showed up at the Supreme Leader's funeral. And what were they waving the flag? Kill Trump. And also, I'm sorry to say, kill Americans. So this is really, this is what Trump has done in this war. It's an escalation trap. He's not showing any signs of us getting out of it. We're getting in deeper. Your previous, that great woman in Florida. Yeah, Angie, she was talking about how we need gas prices to go down. This is going the other way fast. And what Besson, the Secretary of the Treasury, is about to unleash on Monday or Tuesday.
I wonder how this happened. Scott Bessent, I wonder, what is the Scott Bessent? Oh, how could this have happened with the gas prices? Oh, maybe the war, maybe the fact that you did a war. The Strait of Hormuz, folks, it's been 6 months. The Strait of Hormuz was open. Because of this preemptive strike done by Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu, Iran retaliated. They retaliated by closing the Strait of Hormuz. They know they're not a nuclear power, right? So they responded with an economic retaliation, which has hurt us, which has caused food shortages, energy shortages. It has caused also gas prices to go up. We've seen it hit the Asia Pacific region. We've seen thousands of people killed. Robert, I always have to mention that Israel is now occupying southern Lebanon. Israel has displaced 1 million Lebanese folks, right? We've at least 18 soldiers have died. That number is probably going to go up. Hundreds have been wounded. He promised us a sudden victory. It's been 6 months. And look at the lies. I want to play you 2 clips. E1 first. Wanji.
With Iran, they will never have a nuclear weapon. We're essentially controlling, and soon controlling the Straits. We're doing very well with Iran. The press doesn't like to say that, although a lot of the press does say it, because the Navy's gone, the Air Force is gone, the leadership is gone. Part of the problem is so many of the leaders are gone. It's not easy to make a deal. Nobody knows who's leading. But I think the public sees what we're doing, because Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. Very simple. And I think the public sees it, and I think they appreciate it and they respect it. And I tell them they'll be a little higher for your energy cost, but they'll be a little bit higher for gasoline. I had it down to $1.85 a barrel. And then I said, but we have to make a journey to the Middle East because we can't let Iran have a nuclear weapon. And that's what happened. And we've been very effective. We've wiped them out.
Boo,
almost every word.
Boo that man, not Robert. Boo Trump and all his lies.
Almost every word. Oh.
Wait, Robert, I have to ask you a whole bunch of questions, but please quickly respond to all that bullshit you just heard.
Almost every word out of Trump's mouth was the opposite, was a lie. This idea that we have defeated their military. If we had defeated their military, we wouldn't be coming up with new plans to try to get it back to even, much less defeat Iran. So the idea that we have stopped them and blocked them from getting nuclear weapons, I got news. They weren't all that aggressive in trying to get nuclear weapons before. What we have done is given them max incentive to go nuclear. I hope they don't do it. But if they do, this is right on Donald Trump's doorstep. It's his cause. He's causing the very same problems, and he is denying reality at every step. And his final point, he said, the American people appreciate this. I don't know what opinion polls he's looking at. Okay.
Natalie Harper probably printed him something that made that the emperor has no clothes. It's
maybe there's an Etch-a-Sketch where she whites out all the bad news or something. But the bottom line is this is going, and this is really dangerous, Waj, not just for Iran, but for the midterms. Because as my work on American political violence shows, we're already a tinderbox of a country. You throw into that massive rise in gas prices here, and Trump already laying the seeds of stolen election. I mean, we've been through this before. The combination, when I say Trump radicalizes, it's not just one issue. It's not just immunizations. It's not just January 6th. It's almost every issue he touches, he has the radicalization touch. And he touches it, and it radicalizes people. And that's what I'm trying to point out. It makes them feel they have to fight to defend themselves. And as they fight to defend themselves, this is what normalizes political violence. Look at what's happened to Iran. When we had the old supreme leader was writing fatwas against nuclear weapons, 2 of them. And what do? We kill the supreme leader who was doing a pretty serious amount as a guardrail not to go nuclear in Iran. And what happens? His son comes in. He has no guardrail. He's somebody who's been pro-nuclear weapons most of his life. So this is my point. It's what's happening here is it's a deep escalation trap. We can't get out of it very easily. But it's almost worse than that, Waj, because now we're coming to the midterms. And the midterms, it's going to be, you think Trump doesn't want to lose to Iran? Look at what's coming in the midterms. Yep. I'm extremely concerned that what we're seeing of an escalation trap for Trump in Iran is going to be an escalation trap for Trump in the midterms. And he's just not going to go down. If he won't accept defeat to Iran, what makes us think he's going to accept defeat to the Democrats?
Well, I mean, Robert, if only we knew that he incited a violent insurrection the first time, pardoned the insurrectionists, and is trying to pay them with our taxpayer dollars. If only he did, I don't know, a press conference last month where he literally set the stage for him trying to declare a national emergency to take over the elections by lying and saying that China, interfered. If only he sent the FBI to, raid Fulton County and get the ballots. If only he's trying to pass the Voter Suppression Save Act. If only he's threatened to unleash ICE. I mean, if only if he's selling 2028 merch repeatedly, if only he did that. He's doing that all the time. He's not going to leave legally or peacefully.
And building on that, Waj, so in the book I'm doing, so a lot of people talk about January 6th as if it's in the rear view mirror. A point I'm trying to make in the book, Waj, is January 6th was the beginning of a hyper-radicalized MAGA. MAGA was already radical before January 6th. What Trump did is not just radical on January 6th. He kept it going for years, so it becomes normal for MAGA to then have mass deportations, where it becomes normal to kill Democratic protesters. How does that happen? That happens not on a day, Waj. This has been going on for years, and that's what the book is trying to connect some dots so that we can see that this is not just a historic event here or a set there. There's been something brewing here, and I'm not saying it didn't start before January 6th. I'm saying January 6th was a key inflection point where it becomes even more radical with MAGA. And we have the data in our opinion polls where we show just how much support there is for political violence. And once you have that, that normalizes it. And I think Trump has been normalizing political violence. It's been happening in our country. I'm trying to connect the dots. So you see all the way through the ICE immigrations in Minneapolis and the events there. But also, Raj, it's happening in the Iran war. He's normalizing all of this. And he's radicalizing Iran. Iran is now going on the offense against us. That was not true several years ago. It wasn't even true before January 6th. Iran's now going on the offense. And this is really concerning because they are the most difficult policy challenge since Germany in World War II.
Robert, that's why no president in the past 47 years, either Republican or Democrat, made the dumb, reckless, self-destructive mistake to engage in a war with Iran until this dumbass Donald Trump came in and was at first dog-walked by Netanyahu, but we also can't let him off the hook.
He refused to accept defeat on January 6th. He then, look at how he acted. He's refused to accept defeat with the Iran war. And the point I'm trying to make is, why are we really taking seriously he's going to accept defeat on November 3rd?
Not me and you.
Well, I'm just pointing out there's a pattern here.
I warned people in 2019. I've shared this with you when we've talked before that people laughed at me. I said he wasn't going to leave legally and peacefully. Voila, folks. I only have you for 90 seconds, but I do want to talk about this real quick. Donald Trump has failed in this war. This war, folks, it's hitting home. You feel it with the gas prices. There are consequences. There are repercussions. America has more guns than people. There are 400 million guns in this country. Historically, anytime income inequality rises, historically, no matter where people are, it also accompanies a rise of what? Violence, right? It radicalizes people. Forget about left, right. You now forget about blue pill, red pill. You're seeing black pill accelerationists. Not just Democrats and Republicans, you're a mix of people. As people see their family members die because they can't afford health care, after Medicaid is cut, after you see people getting measles, as people get salmonella, as people are working 2 jobs to stay broke, as people are dying in this failed unwinnable war, as people are going broke. It's going to add. It's going to lead, folks, to a violence, which Dr. Pape has warned about, and he has a book. I want to ask real quick before I promote your book, can you show me E2 real quick, Wanji? JP Morgan warns the world could face a major food supply crisis in 2027 as fertilizer shortage, thanks to the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, drive up farming costs. Real quick, E3. More U.S. allies are exploring ties with China. This is literally weakening the United States at home and weakening the United States abroad. Robert, I got to leave, but final word to you, final 30 seconds.
The number one thing we need to do, Waj, is win very big. Not just win a minimum coalition here. The way to offset all of these issues is with a massive tidal wave victory. That may sound like, oh, sure, it'll happen anyway. No, this has to be, and I would say we should take a page from the No Kings protest. This has been one of the most massive series of protests with virtually zero violence. You can't, with a magnifying glass, you can't find violence in those No Kings protests. This shows you can have massive outpouring of democracy without it turning violent. And this is the way to go forward, a massive victory.
Shameless promotion of yourself in 10 seconds of the book.
Our Own Worst Enemies, 5 years of research to really get to the bottom of what's pulling us apart and what we can do to stop it. And I also want to encourage people to go to the Escalation Trap Substack, where I will give you the details of what's happening in the Iran war.
Robert, thanks so much for spending your Friday night with us, sir. I appreciate it.
Oh, such an honor. Such an honor, Waj. Always with you. Oh, my God. And you're
you cut him off during a compliment. Wanji's like, nope, I want to go home and party in my pajamas and watch Netflix and chill. Wanji just took away that compliment from me, but we got to go. Folks, we're staying a bit 1 minute over, but first of all, we're going to give you a moment of joy, a palate cleanser, because there was so much there, right? The collapse of our public healthcare infrastructure system, the collapse of the US dollar, the collapse of the economy, the collapse of our alliances, the collapse of our national security, the attempt by the establishment, the entirety of the establishment, to go after this black woman, Angie Nixon, who defied all odds and won by 12 points. But there's moments of hope there. You have to keep fighting and keep organizing, and good things can happen. Mamdani, they tried to crush Mamdani in New York. He won. He said, you know what? I don't know if I'm going to win or lose in the future, but when I have this power, I'm going to flex this power, and I'm actually going to promote the agenda that got me elected. And look at what's happening in New York, folks. This, as we have climate change, this made my heart soar for a bit. Give me the still, and then give me the video, Wanji. This is a still. An otter has been spotted in the Bronx River for the first time in more than 100 years. Experts say it's an encouraging sign that New York's previously befouled, filthy waterways are recovering some of their ecological health. Show me the video.
An unexpected visitor to the Bronx River could be a sign that the famously filthy waterway could be taking a turn for the better, maybe. A camera spotted what researchers believe is an otter. Okay, take a look for yourself. Kind of hard to see there, right? Looks like it's from behind, but this kind of otter hasn't been seen there in more than 100 years. And News 4's Andrew Sif has a look at some other unique takes on this sighting.
There is everyday wildlife in the Bronx River, like turtles and fish.
Canada geese, wood duck, mallard duck. There's a lot of common carp in the water.
And then, says researcher R.J. Hawkins, there is every century wildlife.
North American river otters have not been spotted in the Bronx in around 100 years now.
You might say he was utterly stunned to see this. Using a special camera trained on the river, that's the back and tail of a creature not seen here since the early 1900s.
Oh my God, that's awesome. That is awesome.
Yup, zoo goers thought it was pretty wild.
Folks, we can have nice things. We can have nice things. Thank you all. for watching. This has been a Joy Reid Show with me, guest hosting. Fret not, Joyanne is back on Monday. She had a workcation. The team will come back on Monday. For all the readers who stuck it with me, I know big shoes to fill. I can't fill them. I'm just trying to keep the seat warm for Joy, who needed a much-needed workcation. I want to thank the team. Angie, give the team an applause. Let's give Nidha applause. Let's give Angie applause. Let's give Sean an applause. Let's give Winnie applause. I'm probably forgetting someone, but they did. Ron applause. They made it work. Thank you all for joining. If you're watching this on Substack, please subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. Please like. Please press the notification button. You can even cancel the email so you don't get it, but it goes a long way. If you're listening on the podcast, whether it's Apple or Spotify, please subscribe. And if you're twitching on Twitch, keep twitching. Thank you all for watching. Please take care of yourselves. Be kind, be informed, and please, oh please, don't be a fascist.
Getting back to the basics, grassroots level. Let me dig a little deeper with the shovel. Plenty can't tell the forest from the trees, and I'm hard to detect, like a black hole in the dark. Injustice anywhere, it's a threat to justice everywhere. Let me make this clear, I got a bone to pick, and I'll never fear the threat of poverty. They don't want to talk about it, they rather party, so I'm a real talk about it, for sure.